Hi again, Dave Kites from the OTOW Woodshop. I'm going to take a few minutes and make a video, tell you the differences between our new jet bandsaw and our old bandsaw. The basic design of bandsaws is they're almost all the same, and that's the way this is. This one is heavier, built better, easier to adjust, and has a lot of other benefits. So it's an improvement, a big improvement. This saw is a 20-inch saw. The other one was a 19-inch saw. That was 19 based on wheel size. This is 20 based on the actual throat opening is 20. The wheel's 20 and a half. So little things like that. It's a nice saw, a better saw. Our saw here in the shop is not interlocked with the dust collector like some of these other machines along the wall are. The electricians, we didn't finish the electrical job mostly because we didn't get enough detail in what we told them we needed. So they're coming back at some point, and we're going to interconnect this, so this will not run unless the dust collector's running like the other machines. But until we get that, you should remember to turn on the dust collector and open the gate here, or you're not going to get any dust collection. Okay, so remember to do that. Most people that have been using the old saw know that anyway, so they're going to first turn the blower on before they even come over here, I think. This is a 5 horsepower saw. The other one was a 2 horsepower saw. One of the reasons we upgraded. What that means practically is it's even more important than ever to support your wood right here where it's being cut, and to not start the saw with the wood in contact with the teeth of the blade. When the saw first starts, it doesn't have much power. It takes time to get that heavy rotor up to speed. It takes 3 to 4 seconds for this saw to do it. I'm going to run it for you in a minute, and you'll see how it works. So until it gets up to speed, it doesn't have much power. But it's still sharp, and if you push wood against here and it's trying to move, it's going to bury the teeth into the wood. It's going to dig in, but not enough power yet to rip through it and saw it. Okay, so it's kind of stuck in the wood, but now the power is increasing now, and so now it really starts to pull. And if you've got a hold of that piece of wood, or if it's not supported well, it's probably going to move. The old saw, 2 horsepower, a big log, you could jam it in there, twist it a little bit, for example, and you could stall that saw. I don't think we're going to stall this 5 horsepower. It's going to move the wood. Something's going to give. So don't start the saw with anything in contact with the teeth. Give it time to speed up. I'm going to turn it on now, and I want you to listen. I know we got good sound in this video, so you'll hear it, but it will be very obvious when it's up to speed. So here we go. So when it quieted down, it was up to speed. Okay, now let's talk about the fence for a minute. It's a little bit different than most fences. This is the fence in the resawing position. Nice high surface here. And in the back here we have 2 knobs you're going to see in a second, because I loosened those 2 up and this slides off. Now these 2 knobs here, what I loosened up, there's a bar here that it is pulling, and the slots in this fence are such that if you lay it down like this, it slides back on that bar, and you tighten these 2 knobs up. And then if I snug this knob up, which of course locks the whole thing to the rail, now it's quite stiff. This is a pretty long distance. It's got 2 machine screws. You can tighten them up, and then this is a good width and grip here too. So it's all very solid, and it doesn't wiggle. Our old one had the regular stand-up kind of fence with just the clamper downer here, and when you did that, you could still wiggle the other end of it a good ½ an inch, okay? And so we started putting clamps on it so it didn't move. No need for clamps on this saw. Don't put clamps on our new fence down here and chew it all up. Don't need them. It's stiff. So once again, loosen these 2 knobs, slide it off, put it in whichever position you want, and put it back on, and then tighten the 2 knobs up, and you're good to go. This is the one that slides. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the fine adjustment on the fence while we're talking about the fence. It has a fine adjustment mechanism built in. So you move it to about where you want it, leave this knob loose, and there's a black knob underneath here, which is loose, okay? At this point, when you get it in an approximate position, snug up the little black knob on the bottom. Now, the silver knob here, when you turn it, you can move the fence. It's moving, you can hardly see it. It's moving very small distances, back and forth. Either way, it moves a total of a ½ an inch different distance, okay, ½ an inch total. So if somebody takes this adjustment and runs it all the way to the end this way, and you come in and say, this is where I want to be, right about there. I'll just go a little bit further that way, but I'll tighten up my little knob like I'm supposed to, and now I'll just move it that way. Oh, it don't move. See, I'm at the end of travel that way. If that happens to you, unscrew, back up about a ½ an inch, put it somewhere near the middle of the range, loosen the little black knob again, go back now, move the fence back to the approximate position, tighten the little black knob, and now you can move the fence either way about a ½ an inch or so, okay? Once you get it where you want it, this one is snug, tighten this one also, and now you're ready to use the fence. So that's how the fine adjustment works. When you get done, don't forget you got 2 knobs to loosen before you move the fence. This one and the one underneath that you can't see and you might easily forget. But once they're both loose, it moves easily. Parks way over here on the little shelf. So, there is no blade break on this saw. Some saws have it. This one doesn't. So here's a block. I jokingly put bandsaw brake on here. You can rub this against the side of the blade to help slow it down. It takes a minute and a half to stop without any help. All the energy in that big rotor of the motor and in the wheels, all that kinetic energy has to be dissipated in friction in the bearings, unless you do something else. And of course the bearings are built to have low friction, so it takes a long time to dissipate that energy. So we help it out by slowing it down by pushing on the side of the blade with this block. And you'll cut it in about half. It's still going to take a while to stop the blade. The miter on this saw has the little washer screwed onto the bottom so it will fit in the T-slot and keep it from tipping up, of course, all right? So I'm going to leave that on there, and you cannot put the miter in like this, okay? It won't go down in the slot. There's a 1 inch wide part at the bottom and a 3/4 inch opening at the top. The washer fits in the 1 inch wide part. You have to slide it in from the end, okay? So don't get frustrated by that. If you find something out of alignment in the beginning here in the first few weeks of this, I wish that you would let me know or let somebody on the board know if I'm not around, that something was out of whack. Adjustment on the guides, either the side guides or the rear guide for the blade, up here or down here. Tension of the blade, if the blade's wobbling around, shouldn't be. And tracking of the blade. If the blade is going back and forth this way, or if you look in the window you can see where it's tracking, but normally people don't open the door and look where the blade is tracking. But this is where we want it to track. If any of those things you think are not where they should be, let me know, or call a board member and let them know. Don't fix it, even if you know how, please. Because I want to see what happened. Why is it like that? I had a case already where the screw in here is a little screw inside of here, cap screw. It vibrated loose and fell out on the table. And so now I've checked that they're all tight. It wasn't tight in there, okay? So now they're all tight, and so we took care of that. But if the fella had just put the screw back in, I never would have known it, and the other ones wouldn't, maybe not tight, I don't know. So for the first while, if something doesn't look right or isn't working right, let me know. And or if I'm not around, call somebody on the board and let them know, okay? And we'll make sure that it's taken care of properly. That's about the differences that you need to know about as a user. There are other differences that make it more convenient to change the blade than our old saw. It has a little more precise tension gauge here to use. It has a little door here that opens, so you got a big wide space to get the blade out. When you change it, the blade comes out this way instead of out that way, so you don't have to rotate it in this hole in order to change it, so you don't even have to take the insert out in order to change this blade. Quite a few little things like that.
We don't want people using the tensioner in the back.
Right. Let's talk. That's right, Ben. This machine, when you're going to use it, you should see this handle up here in this horizontal position. That's fully tensioned. It has another position down here which allows you to, when you're changing blades, to get the new blade to track before you apply the full tension. That's a partial tension. And if I push it all the way back, which I don't want to do, it releases the tension so you can get the old blade off and the new blade on. So we don't want to do that. There's the tracking is back here, the adjustment. We don't want you to fool with that. So this should be up there when you see it and you're going to use it. Okay. The dust pickup is all hooked up. They have metal crosses in the structural part of the machine in those ducts, and they catch stringy shreds. If you're ripping, like we did, ripped some logs the long way, and we got a lot of what looked like grass, dried grass out of a meadow, like birds make birds' nest out of. And it made birds' nest itself because they didn't make it past the metal cross. So when you sawed something and you got shredded particle pieces coming out of it, open these both. There were shreds up here and there were shreds down there. There's no vacuum up here, but shreds got carried around and accumulated up in here. You're going to need to clean these out after you do that kind of a saw and make those kind of shreds and get them out of there so the dust pickup will work for the next guy. Another thing that I didn't mention, I should have, is this works the same as it does on 99% of the bandsaws, but this bandsaw, different than our other one, this one has a lock. So if I tighten this knob right here, then this no longer easily turns and goes up and down. Somebody leaves it that way and you come and you want to move this, then this is turning hard. Remember, there's a lock on this one, okay? And you have to loosen it up. I think we can just leave it loose all the time. I've seen this in use enough that I know this doesn't vibrate down. So, and it's also pretty stiff without this being locked. Some mechanisms are built kind of loosely with big tolerances in the parts, and it's wiggly until you tighten up a lock knob. Well, that's not what this one's for. This one is really to ensure that it doesn't move at all. and I don't think it will, even without the lock knob tightened. So I may take the knob away after a few weeks if we see we don't really need it. But for now, be aware, remember, there's a knob. Somebody may have locked this, so if this is turning hard, check the knob. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all you need to know. It's a 2-speed saw, but we're going to run it on a high speed all the time. The slower speed is for, if you got a metal cutting blade, you can saw non-ferrous metals with it, aluminum and brass and stuff like that. This is a resaw blade. We have this resaw blade, and we have a 3/2 per inch normal blade. This blade is 1.25 inches. Does a super job of resawing, and we will put this on when there's resawing to be done. And the normal one will be the 3/2 per inch blade, which will be on there all the time. That's 1 inch wide, just like our old saw was. Had the same kind of blade on the old saw. But the resaw blade, this time I bought this one 1.25 inches wide instead of just 1 inch wide. And it's also 42 thousandths thick instead of 30-some thousandths. And it's just a wonderful blade. It really does a good job resawing. So I'd mention all that. So that's basically our new saw. Let me know if you have any troubles or questions with it. And hopefully you watch this video before you use it the first time. That's what we're going to encourage everybody to do. Please watch this video, find out about these differences, and then use the saw. Okay, thank you.